Okay, yeah, we're good. All right. First off, The Legend of Sperry McGerk, which is quite an interesting name. Um, One thing that stood out to me about this episode was that the music. I really like the music. John Campbell did a great job with it. Had a lot of that kind of like that marching kind of feeling to it, battle kind of stuff in it, like drums. I think some trumpets in there as well, and that was really cool to hear. One of the first things that stood out to me when this episode first started out, which started back in the past, um, was one of the townspeople. I think the telegraph operator was Nathan Hubler, and that's, I believe, about the fourth voice he's done in past couple albums and Odyssey Club seasons. So it's cool getting to hear more from him. One thing I was wondering, because this was talking about Morgan's Raiders, which really did happen. I looked it up, and they went into the states of Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and I believe on the border of West Virginia as well. I don't think they ever made it quite in there or did the kind of things that, like the burning stuff down and stuff. I don't think they did anything there. I found it kind of interesting. And I didn't think too much about it when I first heard the episode, but it was when I was re-listening to this, to that, and I was wondering, if that's the case, because they only stayed in that general area, because they actually never did go into Odyssey, fictionally, of course. Then Odyssey might be in one of those areas, which, some people think that Odyssey is in Illinois, which Illinois isn't that far away from those states that I mentioned. So I don't know if that was kind of a clue or something to throw us off the track that Phil put in there, but it was a fun little nod because it, they don't ever mention the state, which I'm okay with that. One of the cool things, this is a story that Whit's telling Renee. The transitions, they go back and forth. Sometimes it's music, but one of them, when they talk about the picture that was taken, it had like this flash sound, like the old cameras, and I love those kind of scene transitions. And speaking of Renee, I know this is supposed to be for her learning a story to program for Imagination Station Adventure, which is kind of odd because back in the American Revelation, Whit had the new Imagination Station after the blow up had at during the Novacom saga, where you could just like scan like a book or a painting, and it would create the Imagination Station Adventure itself. And it's also mentioned like that in Back to Add Normal when Eugene was wanting to do that, and Whit said, it can be done by itself. However, this is, I guess you can, it may be a goof, but I guess you could take it because this is a new Imagination Station. It's the one with all the doors now. So Whit might not have kept that feature that was in the old one, which I guess takes more work, but in a way I'm kind of liking it that they have to program it, because it seems kind of, I don't know, lazy for Whit to just have a computer do all the programming for him. And, computers can make mistakes. Let's see here. Phil Lawler, who wrote this episode, he loves history, and if you listen closely, there's a lot of because this isn't a true story, but it's built around based on some real events, like Morgan's Raiders. One thing I thought was interesting was when Sperry McGerk was talking to one of the officers, saying that he was trained by the Booth brothers. And no, it's not that Booth brothers, not the singing group, but the actors. And that sounds familiar? Then yes, John Wilkes Booth was part of that family. I looked it up, and he had actually several brothers. So that was a cool nod to some history there. And also, one other thing I found interesting was that one of John Wilkes Booth's brothers, an actor as well, his name was Edwin. So I'm not sure if that's where the Odyssey team got the name for Edwin Blackard, because Edwin Blackard's an actor, but I just thought that was kind of cool. And this is the kind of episode where like a lot of Odyssey's historical episodes, where you want to go and read about these events themselves, even though the story itself isn't true. Like it's historical fiction, but it makes you want to go and find out more information about the events that happen in there. And this is definitely one of those episodes. And the real star of this show, which was the actor Fred Tatasciore, who played Sperry McGerk. And we haven't heard Fred Tatasciore for a while, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's been in any Odyssey episodes since. I should have looked at AIOC Wiki before I did this, but I think one of the last times he did was probably like in Wooing Wooten, or maybe one of the club episodes, maybe. But we don't hear him that often, so it was great to hear from him again. And I think he did a really great job. Some of his best acting, I think, in this episode, which at one point I'll talk about a little bit later. There was a lot of twists and turns, and I think Phil likes doing this in these episodes. If you listen to No Friend Like an Old Friend, you know that has a lot of twists and kind of things that you don't think that the story is going to take. For example, you know, it starts out about him sound like he's a hero, and then it finds out he's not a hero and he's actually a spy. But then you find out he's not even for like either army, not even from the North or the South, from like a Westerner. And then, you know, you find out later that he changed his name and he's actually the pastor, which is a little bit kind of a really quick roller coaster ride with this. Like you think you know what's going to happen, and then something else happens. The only thing I really guessed what was going to happen, besides him being a con artist at the beginning, was that him being the pastor. When they found the diary, I think I kind of guessed that he was Isaiah Newman. The scene where he's in the cave with Jesse Grissom, I think is how you pronounce that. I don't know. I don't know quite how I feel about that. I think that for the story, I don't know. I think he might have been able to talk his way out of it. I don't know if I know he's still in that the uniform. I can't remember which army it was, but and it works for the story. Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of person I like happy endings, and I wish it would turn out better for Jesse or GC, how you pronounce that. But the theme of, you know, greater love hath no man than this, and only man laying down his life for his friends, which has been used in other Odyssey episodes, but this a little bit differently. And it's what it's actually kind of parallels a little bit of greater love, when PD Barnes, you know, when Timmy died saving him and came in, pushed him to become I think he works with troubled youth, if I can remember right. It's been a while since I've heard that episode. But him getting caught in the battle, I wasn't expecting that, and him being disfigured kind of helped him get a new identity that way. Which, you know, when I was talking about a pastor in like the Civil War area, of course you think of Reverend Jamison from the Underground Railroad episodes, which I almost thought that, I guess because they have found a lot of stuff at Wits End, but finding it in the church instead of Wits End makes a lot more sense. So I guess the church that they had that in must have been, oh yeah, because Wits End burned down, or the church there burned down, so they must have had a church built somewhere else. So I guess that's why the journal wasn't found in Wits End. In a scene where Sperry McGerk was in, I think, the field hospital or something, Fred Tatasciore did some really great acting there, like because he knew a lot of pain and hard to breathe and all of that. I think that's some of the best acting I've ever heard Fred Tatasciore do, and also some of the best acting he's done on Odyssey, period, I think. I know this episode, on the lesson of it, I'm sure Whit used it to talk to Renee a little bit more and help her think more about what she's missing out by not having her faith anymore. The story, I think, I mean, it's pretty jam-packed. There's not really any time to let up. And I could totally see that this episode could have been a two-parter if the team wanted to do that. Which I think it almost, I don't know. I'm not much of a writer myself, but it didn't seem like it was too fast or like too full, but I could definitely see it being a two-parter and them going into more of the details. So I'd like to see how it would have been as a two-parter, but maybe they had to cut it down from two parts to one to fit. But it turned out to be a really great episode. When I first heard it, you have to listen to it at least 2 times to pick up some of the stuff you didn't pick up before, and that's pretty much the case for any Odyssey episode. But for a historical episode like this, you definitely want to do that. I didn't really like it a whole lot when I first listened to it, but I usually like episodes more after I hear them more than once. So I believe I'll give The Legend of Sperry McGerk 4 stars out of 5. All right, and on to Angels and Horsehair. This is one of the episodes I was kind of looking forward the most in the club after we heard Legacy, because it was a have more Becky Riley Clemens in it, or Becca. I guess I just going to call her Becky. And I'm really starting to like that character quite a bit, but like her having the horses there from the Crystal Peaks youth ranch, and they already have horses at the Timothy Center, and that's kind of brings up the question: where are Rachel and Leah? Which, if Tom passed away, then I'm pretty sure his horses probably didn't outlive him, and he lived a long time. So there's no mention of them, which I guess they didn't have to. I mean, they're not actual, human characters, but it'd be kind of nice to have some mention of what happened to them, but I guess not that big of a deal. But bring up the horses and all that. They have, I believe, yeah. I think it's True Calling or something like that, where Aubrey did that horse show, and that lady, I think, donated some horses to the Timothy Center. So I don't know what happened to them. It's basically like the Timothy Center has been vanished from people's memories now. But it would be really nice if they had mentioned that. And also, there's no mention of the Westcotts either in this episode. But I'm kind of glad that it's not going to be just a place for the Westcotts to perform plays and songs and stuff like that. Other stuff like the horses and stuff like that, and probably like the orchard. I'm glad it's not going to be just one central thing, which the Timothy Center kind of made Tom's Farm a little bit more like that. And with Tom not being there, I guess it's kind of the same. It's kind of like its spiritual successor, I guess. It's not quite the Timothy Center, but it kind of does the same things as the Timothy Center did. But, as a big fan of Odyssey, it's, those kind of things I kind of miss hearing. And since they addressed Tom's death, and I think they should probably mention something about the Timothy Center too. Renee's in this episode too, and it seems like she has nothing but bad experiences with animals. First her dog Cogito, and then probably the horse. You think she would be deathly afraid or really apprehensive to be around any animals anymore. But I think her experience with the horses made a little more sense of being scared, or kind of shaping her character than the death of her dog, which I know there's a lot of debate over that, which I won't go into here. But I felt that story that she had with her being dragged by the horse and all that is relatable, because some people do have that happen to them. But they say the best thing to do if you fall off a horse is to get back up, because you don't want to live with that fear. If you don't get back on there, you'll probably never ride again. And this episode is actually pretty small scale. There's only, let's see, only 4 characters in this episode, and 4 voices that we hear. which was Becky, Whit, Renee, and Aldo. Which I really like that scene where Whit's talking to Aldo when he's trying to cut down the tree, and Whit conning him, I guess, into hatchet throwing contests. And Ben Warren had this website called Odyssey and Abroad, which you really need to check out. Did a review over this episode, and he pointed out, this is kind of side of Whit that we don't see very often anymore, because Whit could be kind of a little bit deceptive sometimes, and he'd do that to treat, to have people learn lessons, like sort of like how he did with Isaac with the chronic procrastinitis with the lemonade and all that, which I really like that part of Whit. We don't see enough of that, so it was great seeing that, and it was kind of funny, Whit laughing and kind of having fun, I guess you'd call it, but showing that he's more, there's more to him than meets the eye. Like, when did he find out how throw a hatchet? There's nothing. We still don't know everything about Whit. I don't think we ever will. And the horses, I know my a lot of people that love horses probably love this episode. I don't think we've ever had as much of an animal-centric episode as this one, besides maybe the Mulligan episodes, maybe. I think people that like horses have really enjoyed this episode. And it being a simple episode, it still had a lot of depth to it, like with Aldo talking about his dad being abusive, and using the chains on him, which that was a really well-written scene there, and really well-acted scene there, and you really feel for Aldo. And it's also the sad reality that a lot of kids, deal with that kind of abuse. And I don't think Odyssey has done or talked about that in depth before. I know with Kelly in The Chosen One, she mentioned that her mom would beat her, but it's really passing reference real quick. But this is, I think, the first time a child that's been in Odyssey that's been abused like that, about what the parents actually did to them. But it was handled tastefully. So even kids that a little younger, or pretty sensitive, I think it's too much for them. And I think it's a good way for parents to talk to their kids about how not everybody has the same home life as them, that we need to pray for them and be loving to those kinds of people. And I mean, the storyline itself, Aldo, and Renee, the different experiences with their horses, with Hanson, I think that Aldo connected with, which is really cool. Because Whit could say all he wanted to about him being a friend to him, but the horse horse liked him, even when he wasn't, Aldo wasn't petting the horse. And also Renee getting Booney to stop. Also kind of a flashback to when Aubrey helped Marvin out. But the lesson on this was really interesting. I don't think we've really had this kind of topic or this kind of lesson in an Odyssey episode where, God speaks to us in all sorts of ways. I mean, he's everywhere, and his creation speaks of him. The Bible talks about, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And it's amazing how even in animals, God can show his love and his his wisdom in making all these things. He didn't do it for just to be artistic or whatever. He's did it for our enjoyment and our benefit. And I think that was a great thing to bring across, because some people, have a hard time, and animals can help them with those situations. And it was a really, really interesting episode. And also, after hearing this episode, I'm really wanting to hear more from Becky. I think she's gonna be. I think on one of the official podcasts, I think said she might be a regular character or a semi-regular. And I do miss Tom quite a bit, but I think Becky is a good replacement. If I know that's kind of what she is, but she's not totally. But even after only 3 episodes that I've heard her in, I'm really liking her quite a bit. I love the actress's voice. I think it's Lynn Marta. So I'm looking forward to hearing more from her, and interested to see where they take that character and what we find out. We also probably get some stories from her about Tom when she was younger, because we had one episode with Tom talking about him and Becky. So maybe we'll get some young Becky and young Tom episodes in the future. That'd be really cool to hear. So this episode, again, it's kind of a simple episode, and it's it's a small cast, but there's a lot going on with it. You have the continued storyline with Renee. You have, again, Tom being gone and Becky taking the farm over, and it's a simple episode. I mean, it's an episode that can stand out on its own. You don't have to really know any of the storylines before it. But it's a really great episode. It has a really great lesson in it, and I know animal lovers will love this episode. But I think even people that aren't real big animal lovers, then I think they will still enjoy this episode. So it's a really great episode. But so I think I'll give it 4.5 stars out of 5. Well, I think that's about it. I'm getting ready to start on the last reviews I have of album 62. I'll be reviewing The Grass is Always Greener, hopefully in the next video. It won't be a live one, it'll be like a regular video. And once we get done with album 62, I hope to do some more different videos soon on the channel, so be on the lookout for that. And if you guys enjoyed this video or any of my other videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel so you can know when all the new videos come out. You can like us on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, I apologize for the delay and also the audio qualities. Hopefully I got that all ironed out, but these things are always fun to do, and it's easier to sometimes it's a lot easier doing it this way than having to edit the videos. You also get to go into the episodes a lot more. But like I said, I'm not going to be doing a live video all the time. It's probably mainly for me to catch up on Odyssey Adventures and Odyssey Club episodes most of the time. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.